everyone, welcome to the Hog4 webinars. Still going strong here. Today we're going to be talking about fixture selection and why it's important. So how to select fixtures, different ways to select fixtures, why selection order matters, all that kind of stuff. Paul, before we jump right in, do you have anything to say?
I'm going to learn a lot from this one today.
Awesome. Hopefully a lot of people do as well. So let's hop in, and first I'm going to make sure capture is working before I hop directly in. Settings. Capture should be going now. Yes, awesome. So we're going to start talking about fixture selection, like I said. The easiest way to select fixtures is using the numeric keypad, and your programmer is always going to show you what fixtures you have selected. So if I just want to select my SoloSpot 2000s, so fixtures 1 through 9, I can just select 1 through 9, enter. And now those fixtures are selected. And they are selected in the order that I selected them. So because I typed in 1 through 9, enter, they are selected in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In the programmer, if you ever want to see what your selection order actually is, what you can do is you can right click and you can show your actual selection order here. So now we can see what order these fixtures are actually selected in. So now if I were to hit it full, they come on. I can change my position to be tilted downstage. And if I were to apply a fan, so spread out my parameters, my fan is going to be applied in that fixture selection order. So I'm going to hold down fan and then spin my pan. Well, I'm actually going to choose a start fan. By choosing a start fan, it's going to start at the first fixture in my fixture selection. So that's fixture number 1. And then I'm going to fan that out so we can see it move. So now what it's done is it's spread out that pan parameter, starting with fixture number 1, because that's the first fixture in my fixture selection. So if we wanted the opposite fixture selection order, we can select the opposite now. So we can do 9 through 1 at full. And now even though it's the same fixtures, because I selected them as 9 through 1, my fixtures are in the opposite fixture selection order. So we can see that inside my selection order column, fixture number 1 is actually order number 9. So if I tilt these guys back out and fan again, and if I apply the same fan, it's going to look different. If I apply the same direction with the negative, we can start seeing that we're going in the opposite direction. I'm going to default back to 0 degrees pan and then just show one more time that fanning. Again, because I selected in the opposite order, my fixture selection order switched. So that causes my fixture selection to start on the opposite side of the stage. And again, and it's really important to actually show your selection order sometimes. So that's why we give you the option inside your programmer. If you right click, you're going to get show. And then there's your show, and then you'll get show, and in here will be the show selection order. If you want to take it away, you just right click on the actual column that you want to hide, and then you choose hide, and now it's gone. Right click, show selection order, and then it's back. Or you can choose to hide it, like I said. Great. So that's like the easy way is, like I said, to just you select via the numeric keypad. So like if I wanted to select the RGB LEDs in the back there, I can do 401 through at full. And now I have those RGB LEDs in the back selected. And we can see my selection order is 1 through 168. I'm going to crank up and make a nice rainbow here by fanning my hue. And again, it's starting at fixture number 1 because our 401.1 because our fixture selection order that's the first one in our selection order. Now, if we wanted this to go the opposite way, there's a really easy way to start changing up your fixture selection order. You can do that via the select button at the bottom of your display. and there's the invert. And when you hit, or sorry, not invert, I hit the wrong button. I'm going to hit all to select everything again. Select reverse. So these three buttons over here in the middle are going to adjust your fixture selection order. So when you hit reverse, it actually changes your fixture selection order. So we can see that 401.1 is now 168 instead of 1. So if I take my hue back to 0 degrees and apply that fan again, we'll start seeing the red is on the right, and we're basically fanning from house right to house left instead of house left to house right. We can also do a very quick and easy, very quick way of shuffling our fixture selection. So if we want random colors all around the bars, I'm going to go back to default for the hue, spin the encoder wheel, and in select, we're going to choose shuffle this time. And when you hit shuffle, you can see that the selection order looks completely random here. So by hitting shuffle and I fan out, I am now just fanning in a very random order at this point in time. So that's really good if you for like effects, trying to do different types of pan and tilt effects, and you just want the fixtures to go all over the place, but not sequentially like in the line. Then you can shuffle your selection order and apply that and fan out that effect offset, so that all the fixtures start at different places on that effect cycle. Now, a lot of us probably use groups to select fixtures. So if I'm going to open up my group directory here. So with the groups, we can also quickly and easily select fixtures. I'm going to open up my programmer so we can actually see them. So I select on group 61, I get my fixtures here, which is great. Except let's say, so what's really cool about the groups is not only does it quickly select fixtures, you can also use them to store selection order. So right now they're selected as 1 through 9. I mean, as 401.1 through 421. So whenever I fan, and we just saw this, bring up my saturation and fan, we go red on the house left to all the colors on house right. Now, if I were to want a quick button to select in the opposite order, I can select the fixtures in the opposite order. So I can say down here, go select reverse, or in the opposite order, and record the exact same group now. So hit record, press on the group button. And now if I clear out my programmer and select that group, we have stored that same selection order. So if I go and apply that hue again, change that fan that hue, we'll start to get red on the house right and then color on the house left. So by recording groups with the same fixture selection, you can start getting different selection order though. So whenever you're recording groups, you really want to be mindful of what selection order you're using. That way, when you fan, you're getting the correct fan. So in this case, like if I wanted to label this, I would click on it, hit set, and I can type in RGB right to right arrow L. That way, now I can see that's quickly, it's going to go right to left. But I would probably actually do left to right. That way, the left is actually on house left itself. So your fixture so your groups, like I said, can have the same. You can have the same fixtures in multiple groups as long as they can have different fixture selections. So we can also do one here that's completely random. So select shuffle, shuffled out my fixture selection order. Go ahead and record that here, RGB random. So now this is just a random order group directory that we, or a group that we have. So now I'm going to go and apply a color palette here. I mean a color effect. Color saturation. I'm going to crank up, and we're just going to apply an effect on the sine wave. And underneath effect, we're just going to speed up just a little bit here. So now when like I was talking about doing random effects, if I hit fan and fan my offset, we can start getting random color effects across the different individual pixels themselves. So they're starting at different points on that effect cycle. So like I said, groups are really good. So like why I would want to store that selection order is because I think this effect looks great, so that when I fan, I get them in the same order. So as soon as I have that random look in, I can then record that group in that same selection order at that point in time. Well, so again, groups store selection order and they store fixture type. So the fixtures you actually have selected in there. Right, I'm going to clear out here. So those are the two main ways, like I said, to select fixtures are through your numeric keypad and through your group directory. Now, a nifty thing to do is I'm going to beat it into everyone's head, basically in every single webinar, it feels like, is the dotted user notation. So the RGB LEDs, they do use the dotted user numbers. So 401.1 through .8, 402.1 through .8. That way we could easily break up the RGB bars in the back. So if I just wanted the first RGB bar, then I can just type in 401 enter, 401 enter, and grab only the first LED bar. I can then join this in by hitting 402 plus 402 enter and grab the second one. And I'll grab the last one as well, or the third one as well. So now if I wanted to grab only the first cell of all the those RGB bars that I have selected, then I can just type in the dotted user number that I want at that point. So .1 enter, and I grab the first cell. .8 enter. I didn't hit a dot. 401 through 403. Enter. .8 enter grabs that last cell. .4 grabs the fourth cell. You can also join it with your dotted fixture numbers. So if we wanted .2 and .6, for example, we can do .2 plus .6 and grab the second and sixth cell at that point. Again, these are just the RGB bars in the back. If you're working with a compound fixture like a Solapix or a quad hex, those type of fixtures, and they have dotted user numbers, it works the exact same way. What I also like to do is with the dotted fixture numbers to make fixture selection a little bit easier is actually apply those to the other apply those to fixtures that just repeat themselves. So I'm going to go into my patch here real quick. And the Unos are a really good use case for these because they're broken up in sections of 5. So on the Unos, I can change these numbers. Instead of going 301 through 305, I can have it be 301.1, .2, .3, .4, .5, and then increment to 302.1 just right off the back here, and just repeat that process. So you select all the fixtures, all the user numbers here, hit set, and then you're going to type in the starting user number, so 301.1, and then you're going to hit slash how many parts you have at this point. So we're going to say 5, enter. So now we have 301.1 through .5, 302.1 through .5, and it goes all the way to 306.5. So now, if I were to just hit 301, enter, we have those first 5 Unos. I can then jump to 306, enter, and grab those last 5 Unos. Goes to 52. And then if I select everything in my programmer, we can see that we have those 5 and those last 5. And again, so why I'm not hitting at full is because I have the highlight feature turned on. Highlight is going to take whatever fixtures you currently have selected and turn them to open white and at full momentarily, just while they're the currently selected fixtures. And we can see, because I had 306.1 through .5 selected first, then when I hit the all button to select everything that was inside my programmer, it added in those fixtures after the ones that I've currently had selected. So we can see my fixture selection order is 1 through 5 and then 6 through 10. And again, the same rules apply. I can hit .5 enter, grab the last fixture. I could hit .1 plus .5 and grab those 2 fixtures of everything. and it applies throughout the whole Uno range. .1 plus .5. And now we have all of those Unos there. But if you see, we can actually see kind of the fixture selection order. It goes the .1s first here instead of the .5s first. That is just because it hit .1 plus .5. So it's wanted to the console took that as select all my .1s first and then add my .5s to my fixture selection. So that would be something to be aware of. So when you go to fan your pan, normal fan, we're going to get crosses instead of fanning as if the fixtures had been selected in numerical order. So instead of enter dot. So instead of fanning out like that, we had the crosses before because it had selected the .1s and then the .5s. So just be aware of how you select fixtures. It's going to change how you fan. Any questions before I keep going with this? No.
Let's give it a second here.
Yeah.
See if anyone chimes in. I love fixture selection. I wish I had more reasons to use it in my day-to-day.
I do too.
When you're demoing one fixture at a time, you don't get to do much fixture selection. And it's funny because I don't do that, these details I tend to lose real quick. Stefan says it's great for explorers.
Yeah, definitely is. Any of those that are just any of those fixtures that just repeat over itself, like LED bars, X bars, like I said, the Pixes and the Solo Wash 19s and 37s, like all of that, these dotted numbers are really useful for.
Edward, dotted notation is not a part of Hog 3 software. This was one of the new features in Hog 4. So I was having a conversation with someone. It must have been a month or so ago, but we were actually it was someone who had to get on a Hog 3, and he called me because I was helping him with some Hog 3 stuff because he was trying to treat it like a Hog 4, and he was like, I can't do this, and this, and I was like, yeah, it's really amazing that really how far the Hog 4 software has come since Hog 3. It was like I was like, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's definitely, as we keep progressing and adding these type of features in, it's definitely, you can start to see the gap in between.
Yeah, the gap is more. Yeah, for sure.
I think dotted notation, like what I just showed, was one of the things that, like, once you start relying on it, you start missing it a lot.
Did you mention when you were kind of working with the bars? This always stumps me about when you hit the select and then the group or select by group or
what are you?
Oh, segments. I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking segments.
Yeah, we're about to hit into segments.
Can't believe venues are still using old consoles after the work's been out. Yeah, it's true.
Budget, I feel like
Budgets.
is a budget. And they don't, and sometimes whoever's in charge of the gear at the location or budgets at the location don't really see the need in upgrading if what they're using is working. So something I forgot to mention in the dotted user notation is there's also quick shortcuts as well. I know I don't have this fixture inside my visualizer, but I'm going to go ahead and add in a quad or a couple quads in here. It's just got to open the fixture library. Quad, high end. There we go. Let's add in 5 of them. And what numbers are they? Okay, so I added in 5 quads here, 701 through 705. If I hit show details here, we'll actually see that they're made up of, each quad is made up of 5 different parts. You have the dot as the master, and then you have the 4 cells, so an RGBW cell. So I'm going to show you some nifty things you can do by selecting them. So they start at 701 through enter, selects all the parts because it's using that magical dotted user notation. Now, if you want to grab just the masters, which is just going to be like pan to ilt master intensity, you can just hit dot enter, and that's going to grab all the masters. If you want all the parts, so all the cells at that point, you can hit dot 0 enter, and that's going to grab all the parts and leave out the masters. So I didn't get any of the 701 dot, 702 dot, 703 dot. I just got dot 1 through dot 4. Now, if I wanted to grab all of the parts of the fixtures at this point, I can hit dot dot enter, and it grabs all of the parts, not just the dot the dot or the dot 1 through 4. It grabs literally the whole fixture itself. So again, we have everything selected here. I can go to the dot 2 just like normal and grab 701.2. If I hit dot dot, I'm going to go back and select the entire fixture selections all again, so the masters and the cells. If I hit dot 0, I'm going to grab just the cells or just the parts. If I hit just the dot, I grab just those master fixtures, so the 701 dot, 702 dots. And how we determine what the master is it's whatever the user number is that has a dot but doesn't have a number after the dot. So I'm going to go back into that fixture window so that we can see exactly what that looks like again. So just as long as that part number or the user number is 701 whole number or just the dot, then that's why hitting dot enter grabs only that fixture, so only grabs the master. Dot 0 is going to grab all the parts, so dot 1 through dot 4, leave off the master, and then dot dot grabs the entire fixture again. And that also works if you were to make your own compound fixture, so to say, where you kind of piece together, like I've done it for a color source 4 with a with like a, oh, what is it? It's with the IQ on the top, like the moving mirror attachment that you can put in a source 4. I made the color source like 701, and then the IQ was dot 1, so that whenever I just wanted to bring the source 4 up, I could just do 701 enter, 701 dot enter, and grab just the source 4. So as long as that source 4 was just 701, then the dot enter shortcut works. So you can utilize these shortcuts when selecting a bunch of fixtures if you wanted to, just to quickly grab everything. Cool. I love dotted user notation. It is something that has really grown into my workflow. I also do a bit more of like theater work. So what I do is any fixture that repeats on a pipe. I like my source 4 high sides. Usually there's 3 of them and they're on all 3 electrics. They all get the same dotted user number. So each pipe has the same whole number, but then each fixture on the pipe has a different dot number. That way, when they repeat and I need to bring up the stage left, far stage left high side, it's 1 through 3 enter, dot 1 enter, and I grab those 3 at the same time. It just became part of my workflow when creating user numbers for my fixtures. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these quads. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. They yeah, it's pretty and you can do that like for these solo washes, for example. I also like doing them like because they're on stage left and stage right. You could also just be like, cool, my washes, they're just going to be let's just say, so what, they're currently, let's start at 111. So I could just say, because they alternate 111, 112, 113, 114, I could do here 111.1/2. And now we have 111, 112, 113, 114. So now what's going to happen, 111 through, I didn't hit 1 enough, 111 through enter. We grab them all. Now if I just hit dot 1 enter, I have the whole side over here. dot 2, enter, I have the other side. And then 111, enter, is going to grab only the front. 111, enter. And then we could keep going back if we wanted to. Now, what's also nifty is we do give you a little bit of tips and a little bit of ease of shortcuts to go through your fixtures once they're dotted like this as well. So like if we have 111 through 114 selected here, I can hold down, I believe it's fixture next. And now we go through each dotted user number. So by holding down fixture next, we're going to go through 111, the whole 111. So we can now go hit next. We're going to hit 112, 113, 114. So without that, we would go one fixture at a time. So by holding down fixture next, you can go through a whole dotted number at the same time. That'll work for the RGBs in the back as well. So fixture next. And now we're going through each bar one at a time. That's, again, really useful for those big, complex compound fixtures like quads, hexes, solo washes, when you just need to fixture check each fixture instead of having to hit next, 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 next to go through all 37 parts. You can hold down fixture and hit next and go through the whole fixture at the same time. Great. So now that I covered a bit more of dotted fixtures, Paul, do you have anything to add before we jump into some segments and buddying fun?
No, this will be good.
All right.
I think we're caught up. I don't see any new questions yet. So
awesome.
You guys are quiet today.
I know. I'll wait a second and grab some water before continuing. All right, so I didn't see anything else come in. So let's go ahead and play with some segments and buddying. And we're going to start off with segments first. So you have this fancy handy dandy button down here called segments. And what segments is going to do, just this first half of this toolbar, is it's going to divide up your fixture selection and say how many fixtures, if we apply a fan, how many fixtures are we going to fan across before we repeat that fan? So just showing with the spot 2Ks first. Go ahead and tilt them downstage a little bit. And now if we go into segments and we apply a segments of 3 here. So that's saying we're going to fan across 3 fixtures and then take that 3 fixture fan and apply it to the next 3 fixtures and then the next 3 fixtures. So I have segments of 3 here. I'm going to fan my pan. And we'll see that the first 3 fixtures have fanned, the next 3 fixtures have fanned, and the next 3 fixtures have fanned. And if you look inside my programmer here, you can actually see that the first 3 fixtures have this set, the next 3 have the exact same numbers, and the next 3 have the exact same numbers. So again, we're fanning across the first 3 fixtures of your selection, or however many numbers you choose in that segment, and then we repeat that same fan across your the rest of your fixture selection. Or if I go the opposite way, we'll get a handy dandy cross here. So that's where segments becomes really powerful. If you want like every 3 fixtures to do the same thing, then you can, every 3 fixtures to do the same fan, you can do it this way. You can also then use segments to change your fixture selection again. You can say, hold down group and hit next. And when you hold down group and hit next, you're going to grab every 3rd fixture. So again, it's 1, 4, and 7. The next set is 2, 5, 8, and then we get 3, 6, 9. So that's by holding down group and hitting next at the same time. And then you can also, there's an option in here if you need to grab all 3 fixtures at the same time. So you want to grab the first 3 and then the next 3 and then the next 3. You can do segments of 3 in here and then turn on next by segment. So when you turn on next by segment, hold down group and hit next. You're going to grab the first set of 3, the next set of 3, and the next set of 3. And all of this is what order we actually decide to do this on is all based on your fixture selection order. So if I were to shuffle my fixture selection here, now I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hit shuffle one more time to just make it a little bit more random. Cool. So we have it shuffled here. Now, if I hold down group and next, the 3 that I have selected are not in line because my fixture selection order was completely shuffled and randomized. So your segments, even when your segments are also affected by your fixture selection order. Group next. So it's not always in the 1 through 9 order. It's whatever that fixture selection order is before you hold down group and hit next. And then if I were to go and turn off next by segment, I hold down group, hit next. Again, it's just going to be based on that fixture selection order. So I just trying to, the point of this is so that you guys pay attention to what your fixture selection order actually is, and how it can be effective in different situations here. So that's how segmenting works. One of the questions I get whenever I get asked about is, what if you choose a segment size that isn't easily divisible, that isn't divisible by your fixture selection? So I have 1 through 9 selected. 1 through 9 here. Tilt it back down stage. So we're in 1 through 9. Now, if I choose like a segment size of 4, let's say, what'll happen is we will try to do it, and that last fixture is going to act as if it had 3 other fixtures inside that segment. So I'm going to hold in fan. Acts like it should exist, and whenever you have an uneven number of segments or fixtures inside that segment. And you can use these segments embedding also with your dotted fixtures that you have as well. So I'm gonna crank that up. Now, if I hold down fan, put a start on my hue, we can see that because my segment size was 4, every 4 cells we're doing the same fan, and we can see the same color in there too, every 4 cells. So it doesn't matter if you have a dotted user number or you don't, for the most part. So now if you are dealing with any with the dotted user number, what you do need to make sure of, though, to achieve this effect where we're doing segments over each individual pixel, or we're fanning over each individual pixel, is this concept of buddy parts. So with buddy parts turned on, so buddy parts is turned off right now, and we get this effect here where we're fanning over each individual pixel. With buddy parts turned off, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off, buddy parts turned on with no segments at all. I'm going to take this back here. What this will allow us to do is actually treat each bar as its own as its own fixture. Now we're back to red. I hold down fan. And instead of fanning across each individual pixel like we were earlier, we're now fanning across each individual bar. So again, this is just really helpful to just quickly get a fan across the bar rather than the pixel. With buddy parts turned off, we get each individual pixel, and we'll see more of a gradient throughout the bars in the back. So what buddy parts was doing is saying, hey, if this fixture is part of a dotted fixture number group, then we're going to treat it as one fixture. It doesn't matter that, yes, they are each individually patched as RGB LEDs, but because they are part of the 401.1 through .8, that's just one whole fixture. So like I said, it speeds it up for stuff like this. It can also speed it up for if you're ever dealing with a moving head compound fixture, like quads, hexes, the pixel type fixtures like the Solopix and the Solo washes, 19s and 37s, then why buddy parts is more important is when you try to fan across those fixtures, it's going to try to apply that fan across, like if you're trying to do a color fan across the head of the fixture, like the individual cells of the fixtures, it's going to apply that color fan across all the parts. So meaning the pan and tilt are also included in that. So with buddy parts turned on, you can then avoid some of that confusion there, and some of that miscalculation there as well. So that was buddy parts. What's also nifty in here, you can see that there's a buddying option here that you have to actually increase as well. And that's basically saying how many fixtures do you want to treat as one fixture when you fan. So I turned off buddy parts. I'm going to go back to those solo spots again, 1 through 9 at full, basically. We're going to tilt down stage. So, and then I'm going to go into segments, and I'm going to choose a buddy size of 3 this time. So by giving a buddy size of 3, what it's saying is we're going to treat every 3 fixtures as one fixture, basically. So when I fan the pan, the first 3 fixtures are going to act the same. The next 3 fixtures in our fixture selection order are going to act the same, and the next 3 fixtures are going to act the same. And we can see here in our programmer, we actually get that as well. So we get 25, 25, 25, 8, 8, 8, 42, 42, 42. So again, it's just getting the 3 fixtures. It's just saying how many fixtures do you want to treat as one fixture when you apply this fan. And again, that is also in the selection order as well. So if I were to do 1 through 9, I go to select, I hit shuffle. That changes my fixture selection order. I still have my buddy size of 3, and you can see here that my buddy size of 3 is still applied. So I still have that buddy size of 3. When I fan, because I did a different fixture selection order, it's not going to be the same 3 fixtures that were next to each other. It's going to apply that, again, in that fixture selection order. So 1, 2, 3, those are the ones that have these 50-degree values. And then it would go 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, for example. And that's how buddying works. And again, if you do a buddying of for something that's not divisible, so if we do a buddy size of 4 in here for these spot 2000s again, tilt it down stage, fan, that last fixture is just going to act like it was actually part of that buddy of 4. It just acts like it should have the rest of its partners, even though it doesn't. Cool. Any questions with those segments and buddying? And I guess how selection order actually plays a fact in that.
Let's see. Who's got what? Come on, come on, come on. You might be explaining it absolutely perfectly, Megan.
Man, that'd be awesome. It's only taken 4-ish years to do that. And like I said, this is all stuff that we have covered in previous webinars as well. It's just kind of putting it all together and seeing it more in like a concentrated like video as well. Something to note while hopefully y'all are thinking of questions is the segments and buddying down here does not clear when you hit clear. So like when I hit clear, my buddying and my segments still stay the exact same.
Isn't there a preference for that though?
There is a preference for that, but by default it will stay when you hit clear. So if you go into setup and then preferences, you can toggle it like Paul was saying. And then underneath the programming tab, there is the reset segments and buddying on clear. If you check that box, you change your segments, you hit clear, it's going to go back to what it was before, to default. Like nothing is segmenting, nothing is buddying. I usually keep mine on, but I think that's just because I'm usually in the demo room or I am dealing with the same set of fixtures that I want to fan across the entire time. All right. I don't see any questions, so I want to talk about one other place that fixture selection order is actually really important in, besides applying fans, segments, and bedding, and that's also making your plots. So your fixtures to add fixtures inside your plot, you hit the button with the fixture icon, you select how you're going to apply those fixtures, and then your fixtures are going to be added in whatever order you select those fixtures in. So if I do my spot 2000s and I drag them in, we can see that they get added in the 1 through 9. That's cool. That's just straight. Now if I delete them, and now if I select them in the opposite order here, 9 through 1, enter, and I drag them in, look, they get added in that order that I selected them in, 9 through 1. So however you select your fixtures, that's also how they're going to be applied in the plot, in that same order. Now, if you're like, oh, I already dragged my fixtures in, but that's obviously not the order I want them to go in, you can also change where you're actually starting out the grid. So by default, we always start in the top left. If you need it to go to the top right instead, so like kind of flip-flop this selection order, you can just hit the button that has the little blue dot in the top right corner, and it's going to change your selection order. You can also, so that would change your selection order there and change it to just flip from 9 through 1. It flips through 1 through 9. Now I could select my fixtures as evens and odds. So 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9. Enter. And then if I drag that in, we can see that that is how they got added in. 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. If I change my start, it doesn't put them magically in order. It just flip-flops. Like it just literally switches that from 2 starting on the left, it now starts on the right. So just be aware, it's not going to change your order per se. It's just going to be like if we rotated it around. But yeah, so that's something to just be aware of, is your plots also get added in whatever order you have fixtures selected in. So we have this nifty handy dandy group here that when we drag in these plots, they get added in a specific order. 0, I'm going to make these just a little bit smaller so we can actually see. So they got added in 401.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they go across that way. From left to right. Cool. So you can see that here. Now, if I were to add in that other group of lights that I made, the RGB left to right, when I add those in, we can actually see that it actually started with 421.8 at the top, and then it goes the last cell here is 401.1. So again, just reiterating, fixture selection is important. Please, please, please be aware of what you add in, so that you don't accidentally add it in the wrong order, or you chose the fixtures that were completely random and added those in. And now you have no idea where 401.1 actually is. And when you go to start selecting these fixtures, they get selected in completely random order. So that is just something to your plots. Basically, everything inside Hog really is fixture selection order dependent. So when you're fanning, that's not just when you hold down the fan button. That also includes when you type in a fan. So fanning, making your plots, making your fixture, making your groups and your group directory, all of that plays a fact into all of that listens to how you selected your fixtures. So like I said, when you fan, it's not just paying attention to when you hold down fan, it's also when you dial in your fan. So I bring up my saturation, I hold down set, I press the encoder wheel, or I spin the encoder wheel. I can type in 0 through 8, we'll just do half of the rainbow, I guess, 0 through 180. And we get a pretty decent gradient going. Now that's because in my selection order, I have 401.1 show selection order. I have it going .1 through .9, so I have it going in the right selection order. That's why it's going left to right. Now, if I were to go into select, I shuffle. I'm gonna take the hue back to default, spin my hue, and type in 0 through 180 again. Because I shuffled, we get a completely random selection. So it doesn't matter, again, how you enter that fan, whether you're holding down fan, spinning the encoder wheel, or typing it in exactly what you want, it will apply in that order. And that goes the same for also fade times and delay times. Those get applied in your fixture selection order itself. Well, let's see. So let's play around a little bit with effects just to show how that, I know it's a little bit choppy with the visualizer, but just to show a little bit of how that's going, how that'll play a factor. So 1 through 9 at full, tilt down stage, and we're going to apply the first effect. So we have a circle. If we just fan normally on the start, fan with a normal, and we fan that offset. Then when you fan the offset, I actually hit fan, they'll start chasing each other as expected. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit, but maybe the choppiness isn't as affected as much. Cool. So with it, so we can see that they're kind of chasing each other because we have that effect offset fanned out. Which is really nifty, but they're chasing each other in this specific order because we selected these fixtures in 1 through 9. Now, if we wanted random fixtures to circle around, I'm going to default my offset again, so they're all going at the same time. And then we're going to hit select and shuffle. So when we hit select shuffle, we fan that offset again. And now they're all in different spots of that effect cycle. It's not the same, it's not one's following the other, they're just all in different spots on that effect cycle. So this is how you can kind of get your effects to start looking a little bit different. You can also, like, technically, yes, they're all the same effect, but they're all starting at the same tilt location right now. So if we go into our programmer, we can see they all have the same tilt base value. Well, we can hit select shuffle again to randomize our fixture selection order one more time. Hit position and then fan again on our tilt this time though. And now they're in all different base values for the tilt. So not only are they on different effects, different start points on that effect cycle, now they're also at different base values. So it's still the same sine wave being applied. It's just they're starting at different places. So you can really use this fixture selection order to start making more random effects or making more dynamic effects, I guess is a better way to say it too. So now another thing that I want to point out is the rest of the select toolbar here. All invert, random, even, odd, previous. All of these things affect what fixtures this first half of the select toolbar, it affects what fixtures you actually have selected. So if I was to hit select and then previous, it's going to select my previous fixture selection. So whatever I had selected before. So now I could also, I'm going to bring those to full, select the Unos. And we have those Unos there. Just make them go red in the background so we can see them. Tilt them downstage. Now, if I want to quickly go back to those spot 2Ks, I can just hit select previous and it selects those previous fixtures for me. Now we also have, or I'm going to undo that actually, and then hit select previous. Select those previous fixtures. We now also have select invert, and that's going to invert your fixture selection. So instead of 1 through 9 being selected, we'll now see 301 be selected. So invert, it now selected 301.1 through .5 instead of 1 through 9. So invert just switches which ones are actually active inside, which ones are actually selected inside the programmer. So whatever's currently not selected becomes selected. Whatever currently is selected becomes not selected. So that's just a quick way to toggle between those two. And then select all. So you hit select and then you hit all. That's going to select everything that is inside your programmer. That select all is the same as the all button on your front panel. So on your front panel, you have this all button. That's going to select everything inside your programmer as well. Next is going to select one fixture at a time. Back selects one fixture previous, though, in your fixture selection. So it goes opposite inside your fixture selection, whereas next goes forward through your fixture selection. Now, you also have even and odd options inside your select toolbar. Here. Select, we also have these even, odds, and random. So I'm going to show this with the RGB bars in the back. So if I hit select and then I hit random, that's going to select one light randomly from your fixture selection. It doesn't randomize your selection order, it just selects one light randomly. Now if I hit select and then all, I hit select, and then let's talk about even and odd here. Select even is going to select the evens of your fixture selection. So what I mean by that is we can see that it grabbed .2, .4, .6, .8. It didn't grab the, so those are technically even numbers. Hog does not care if your user numbers are even or odd when selecting your evens and odds. It cares what order you selected the fixtures in. So because I did 401 through enter, it's going to select the evens of your selection order itself. So whatever selection order is for 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever your selection order is on evens is what it's going to select. So select even selects those evens of the selection order. Now if I were to do 401.2 through the rest of my RGB bars, 401.2 through 421.8. There we go. We have them all. What you'll see happen is when I hit select and then even, it doesn't select the first 401.1.2, or it doesn't select the even user numbers. It selects the evens of the selection order. So again, just keep that in mind. Evens and odds are not based on the user number that you give them. It's based on the selection order, on whether the selection order is an even or an odd. Some other things that are that are slightly nifty about evens and odds, selecting evens and odds. If you hit select and then even, great, but you need actually the evens of those evens. You can go back and hit select even. Actually, I haven't changed anything. So now whenever I hit the next thing and I want to go out and actually select the odds instead of the evens, I can hit select and then odd. And now it just went back up to the top of my fixture selection and selected the odds of my original fixture selection. It was able to do that because because I hadn't actually changed my fixture selection at that point. I had just gone through and dwindled it down a bit. And then because I hit select odd, it was able to go all the way to the top of my original fixture selection and put it back and choose my odds there. Now, if I were to hit select odd, great. I'm going to actually bring those to full, all, full, great. color. They are red. Now because I've made a fixture selection here and I've changed the parameters, if I hit select and then even, it's going to choose the evens of my selection here because I actually ended up changing. It doesn't go back up to the top because my fixture selection was now whatever the evens of the evens of the evens were, if that makes sense. Again, if I want everything selected again, I just hit select and then all, and it's going to select everything again. Everything that's inside my programmer. If it's not inside my programmer, by hitting select all, it's not going to grab them. Now I did on the other half of that select toolbar, we talked a little bit about shuffle and reverse. There's also the reorder function. So if I were to shuffle my fixture selection, select shuffle one more time, we can see my fixture selection has been shuffled. Like it's not in the 401.1 through .8 order anymore. If I go to select and then reorder, it takes it back to whatever my original fixture selection was. So again, just showing once values are in place, we have values in here. We have select, shuffle. I still am going to change my values here to fan the hue. Now if I hit select and then reorder, we're still going to go back to what that original fixture selection order was. The 401.1 being at the beginning and 421.8 being at the end. Now when I fan again, we're going to fan in that proper order again. And that's really what I have about the fixture selection and why it's super duper important. I will always say fixture selection is always important as much as you can do, because all of these things are because how Hog records your cues, how Hog records your parameters, your groups, apply how you place fixtures inside your plot, all of that is based on your fixture selection order. So by selecting so just be conscious whenever you're selecting your fixtures that you're doing it in the right order, that you want to apply that fan, you want to put those fixtures in the plot and all that kind of stuff. So that is what I have. So if anyone actually has questions, whether it's for fixture selection or other questions about Hog, I am more than happy to answer.
Oh, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah. Unless, Paul, you have something to add that I missed.
No, you usually do a fairly thorough job. And by fairly, I mean yes.
Well, thank you. Or if anyone else has any tips that they want to throw out here for fixture selection. My favorite, as I said earlier, my favorite fixture selection tool is the dotted user numbers. I love dotted user numbers and will fully embrace them.
Yeah, that was a huge improvement, especially as we kind of evolved into more in the compound fixture world.
Yeah, and for media servers, man, they were great because I also do a lot of like Axon HD programming and stuff like that.
I see. I come from the world of dealing with media servers and DLs before data notation, so
yeah,
I miss it. It was a very clear story with nice new tricks for me. Thanks, Eric.
I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah, no, because media servers, like you have that master layer usually, like, and then you have like however many graphic layers you have for that.
Don't forget the global layer.
That's what it's called, global, not master. So you have that, and it's been a while. You have that global layer, and then you have like all the graphic layers in there. So the dotted user notation definitely super helped that, because then you could have your global layers just being that dot number, and then your graphic layers are the .1 through .9, for example. So then you could just quickly change your layers. Man, I had like the ultimate command key short layout before dotted numbers came in. All my globals would be at the top. And I usually wouldn't need more than 3 layers. So then we'd have layer 1, 2, 3 out, and then this would be global 2 layer 1, 2, 3, and they would literally just be groups for me to select and quickly change instead of having to do the dotted numbers.
That's how I did it.
Yeah. And then the next page would be like beam palettes to quickly get keystoning or masking or whatever I needed in. I don't miss it.
There was a lot of setup to that, to doing to programming those.
Yep. I guess maybe it would be good to do a media server stuff just to show the layouts like that. Slowly talking myself into that media server class or webinar.
Well, if we're looking at Axon and Dios, I can help there.
Yeah. The issue is I don't have one here to actually do it with. Like, because I have a capture card, so I could get that into capture.
Right.
But I don't have like the box itself.
If only there was a building that you could have access to.
That's true. I mean, I guess there is. I would have to go up there. It's not that far away.
Everyone's so quiet today.
I know. Peter has something.
Wait. Yeah, Peter.
How would you have all your Unos be red and have a white chase go across the red Unos? That does make sense. So what I would do is screw it full. We are going to tilt it a little bit downstage. Color, make them go red, and you want one white Uno to chase like left to right, for example, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do here is, yep, great. Open your effects directory at this point. If you want to do the effect way, you can do it this way. Do a saturation with a step. I'm going to change my saturation here, my base value for saturation to actually be 50%. And now it's going to go snap up, snap down. We can then go into effect here, speed it up a little bit, or a lot of it. And then you can change, instead of offset, choose effect spread. And you can start changing your effect spread to get that, to get it to chase across. You'll just want to, be careful of how large you make that spread, or how small you want to make it. But I think your offset could also do that as well. I'm gonna blind unblind. Offset. So it's just finding that sweet spot, but it's not really getting one. Oh, but you could do a mark on with it, probably. That way it's on longer than it is. Mark on longer than it is off. Or is it mark off?
I think it's mark off.
Do you have a different way, Paul?
Well, you could play with the effect offset. I wonder. Okay, what is it? And again, having it spit through the WebEx and capture, it's going to be hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
What if you what if you manually enter an effect offset fan of a 0 through 180?
And then what? So, I still need that to be. I need to go change my size real quick on the effect.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I would probably do is, so you're doing it with hue and saturation. Yeah, my base value would be 100% saturation.
Which is what it is.
Which is what it is.
And we have our size.
And then your size would be 0, because that should kick you down to white, make it a step.
My bad. I might be going. Or is it the size can't be 0, size needs to be 100.
Right, size needs to be 100, but I would
And
pick it a step
saturation
too.
needs to be a 0. You want a step instead of mark on?
Yeah.
Okay, so step, and you said saturation at 100% or saturation at 0?
Your base, well, the question was, if they're all red, so your base value should be 100%. So the effect is effectively taking it to white. So that takes it across. So
You could also do it with your timing if you wanted to, like with your
effect length.
Oh, that's
They're doing it. There's something there. I can't tell if it's the.
No, it was a very short blip.
Um,
So it might just be playing with your effect off length at that point in time. Because now I've got 3 Unos going across, so then it would.
are you still dealing with group by anything, or these individual fixtures?
No, these are individual fixtures. My segments is off.
But they're still, but you have them still set up as 301 through.
Right, but I don't have buddy parts turned on.
Okay, gotcha.
I think it's just playing with the length to get that to be only 1 fixture instead of 2 fixtures. There we go. It'll come back soon. Maybe. There it is. 1 fixture at a time.
Van, to answer your question, why are you using HSI over CMY? Preference?
Preference, and it's easier to do color effects, in my opinion. Because to get red to go up and down, I would have to adjust magenta and yellow for CMY at that point in time. Whereas if I'm doing hue and saturation, it's just that saturation that I have to take up and down. Also, again, it's preference. I like to use the color picker, and the color picker is all based off of hue and saturation. So if I want to quickly change all my colors, then I can just pick a color in the color picker. And if I'm just using hue and saturation straight off the board, then I don't have to worry about messing up any type of color in my show if I just update a palette with that. Whereas if I started with CMY, I update this cue with hue and saturation, not thinking, my whole my crossfade isn't going to look good.
Nathan asks, how do you store effects, or can you?
Yeah, so you can.
I'm assuming as a palette, an effect palette.
Yeah, so you definitely can. And actually, Bud found a better way to do this is with effect palettes, effect palette to palette. But you can definitely record a palette. So let me just undo this. So we have our effect going right now. I'm gonna crank up the speed so we can actually see it go across. So we have the effect going. What we're gonna do is record that as an effect palette. So double tap effect. That's gonna open your effect directory. I'm gonna size it just so that we can see the empty parts here. Then you hit record. And if you just wanted the effect information, so you don't want any of the base value information, you can just click on the effect direct palette, and it now stores that effect information. But notice it didn't store any color information here. So like if I open up this effect, there's no color information here. That's because I just recorded directly into the effect directory without masking out my information, without saying, hey, I also want color inside at this point in time. So if I undo, now if I hit record, I also at this point want color and effect. So I hit color, I hit effects, and then you tap in the effect directory where you want it to go. And you can see you now have color information because it has that little C in there. So when I hold down open and click on that effect, we can see that it has the base value for white and the hue and the saturation. So by doing the masking, where you choose what information you want in there, you can actually add in your base value at the same time with your effect. So this would allow me to now select these fixtures again, 301 through enter, and just click on that effect, turn it at 100%, so that we can see, and now that effect is just running. Okay, so Bud said, so real quick to address the palette to palette effect, just because I was like, oh, that is a way you could do it. So if you have color palettes in your show, you go to color, we have these wonderful color palettes, or any type of palettes. It doesn't have to be color palettes. It's just me. A lot of these are useful for colors, but you can also go from position to position. You can say, go from palette A to palette B, and I just want my effect to run between these two palettes. So if I want my Unos 301 through at 100, I'm going to go ahead and tilt down stage again. If I want them to chase from, let's go cyan to red, then I can say, we want to say the color effect at the first color palette through the second color palette. So I'm going to say color 34.2 through, or sorry, not dot 2, dot 3 through 34.6, enter. And now they're going to do a crossfade from cyan to magenta to red. And we can, the effect gets thrown in there, so now you can speed it up if you want to. You can also go and change the table if you need to. So from a sine wave, we can change it to a step. And we'll see that it's going to just snap from one to the other, one color to the next, and then you can change, you can fan your offset at that point too, to start to get them to chase. So the palette effects are super useful and can get you quick color chases if you need to. Again, it would just be changing your effect length and your effect offset at that point to get how many Unos you wanted to actually light up in the color. To talk about color, yeah, we can talk about color, Van. How would you pull out the yellow easily using hue, saturation, intensity, and an effect, leaving a red magenta wave?
This is where I would be. This is where I would shy away from HS.
Well, so you could. So at that point, you would actually do, instead of a hue and saturation, you would do, instead of a saturation wave, you would do a hue wave. So like 401 through enter at 100. Great. I'm gonna crank up my saturation. And then I can put a sine wave on my hue. I can change my hue's base value to be here. And then I just need to change my size at that point of my effect. I probably want it to be super like, what, that's like 45 degrees total that I want to go up and down. Oops. No, keep that spread at 0. Color. Yeah, that's right. I want effect though. Right, speed up a little bit. So so I'm still going a bit more in yellow. So to go straight to red, I probably want half of that, so 20. And now we're going to go from magenta to red, I believe. Yep, there it is, from magenta to red. So like how I got this size is I want it to go, the size is going to go above and below that base value. So because the base value is what? Because the base value is 339, it's going to go 20 degrees above 339 and 20 degrees below 339. So it's going to go from 340 to 360, and then from 340 to 320. So that's getting me to, if we open this color picker again, that's getting me to about here magenta wise to about here red wise. I've really embraced the hue and saturation part of this, so it was a little bit easy to get that, and then we could always fan the offset to actually get like a color wave going. I hope that helps a little bit about how to pull out the yellow easily. You just kind of got to figure out a little bit more math-based stuff, I would say. But I don't know, Paul definitely CMY would, I guess, be easier because you have that yellow to just pull up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I still think it kind of comes down to preference. Like,
Yeah.
I personally never really embraced hue saturation as a use on the hog, just because, you know, I go back to hog 2 where there was no HS picker, so you were only dealing with CMY. So my head still is wrapped in CMY. So it's just easier for me. But by no means is it right, wrong, better or worse. It's just, for me, it's what's good.
It's a different tool. That's it. It just changes where you apply your math.
Right.
I guess is actually what
Right.
happens. I also have more of like web dev color mixing in my mind too, and so I just stick in the hue and saturation and intensity color space. So it, instead of having to switch my mind from CMY to hue sat back and forth between the two things, I can just stay in hue sat and live the best life I can. Yeah, but but like Paul said, it's just preference, honestly. Like if you like CMY and you want to use CMY, that's great. But what's also cool, well, I mean, it's the same thing for CMY, but if I just change my base value here, because I have this just going from red to magenta, now if I wanted to go from magenta to cyan, I can just change my base value and it's going to change. Well, magenta to cyan isn't going to, a little bit there. And it's going to now just keep doing that 20-degree or that 40-degree offset there. So you can easily change exactly what you're toggling between just by changing the space value of your hue. You can go orange to a little bigger green there. You might have to end up changing your hue, your effect size if you want to encompass more colors, but it works. It would be nifty, and this is going to be a request that I add in at some point, to, like, if you're doing a hue and saturation effect and you have your size, to put the guides of where your size would be so you can actually see what two colors you'd go between. Cool. Any other colors, guys? I mean,
Questions.
Colorful questions? Does HSI include the white note? It does not. Hue, saturation, and intensity is only going to adjust CMY. So the inverse of that would be RGB. It does not take into account any extra emitters that a fixture can have, or any extra like color wheels that a fixture can have. So it's only going to take into account those whatever would inverse to cyan, magenta, yellow. So RGB is just the inverse of CMY. And that is honestly how Hog treats RGB fixtures. Hog treats RGB as the inverse of CMY. So like I'm applying this to my RGB fixtures in the back. It's the same effect that I would give on my Unos. It's the same effect that I would give on anything that's RGB wise. The main reason I do that is also, I don't use the intensity red, intensity green, intensity blue. The main reason I do that is because if I wanted now this effect to work with my Solar Spot 2000s, I can do that. Like if I record it as a global effect to apply to other types of fixtures, because it's using hue and saturation, any fixture that has color mixing can use this effect. If I were to make this effect with these I red, I green, I blue parameters, it would only work with these fixtures that have I red, I green, I blue. You wouldn't be able to apply it to any other type of fixtures at the same time. So just also be aware a little bit because there is that third color space of red, green, blue, that we don't treat, that Hog does not treat as colors. It's intensity at that point. See, when I turn that eye red, it actually snaps and gets rid of the color completely. Just because it's not a color parameter. Well, with that said, I think
They call it today.
Yeah. Thanks everyone who came out and joined us. I really appreciate it. Again, next week we are doing make the hog your own. So we're going to go through preferences, control panel, talk about what stays with the show file versus what changes on the console. Some important cue list and scene options that you really want to pay attention to, that kind of stuff. And then after that, we're going to do command the hog, and we're really going to hit home on that command line syntax. So again, it's a lot. We're kind of, and we have a lot of these concepts kind of thrown across the webinars, like the first 12 that we did. And I'm kind of we're gonna go through and start hitting them home a little bit harder. And there may be a media server one thrown in relatively soon. I just got to figure out where I can get one. Thanks, guys, again, and we will see y'all next week.
Thanks, guys.